Good afternoon, dear participants. Let us start with a minute of silent prayer. Welcome everyone to Online Faculty Development Program on Advanced Data Analysis using Spreadsheet, organized by Department of Management, Kristu Jayanti College. Thank you, dear participants, for your participation and interest towards this online faculty development program. Now I request Professor Surendranath Reddy, Head Department of Management, for the welcome address.
Reverend Dr. Augustine George, our Vice Principal, Resource Person Professor Suku Thomas, coordinated by Professor Vision Philip, all the participants from different parts of the country. It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome the gathering to the second level of data analysis using spreadsheet, that is advanced level, and very happy to see overwhelming response, and I thank all the participants for showing your interest and enthusiasm to be part of this particular FDP. So on this occasion, I would like to welcome Reverend Dr. Augustine George, our Vice Principal, who's our leader and also motivation and true inspiration for doing these kind of programs. I welcome you, Father. I welcome all the participants from different parts of the country who are part of this FDP today, and without whom today is not a reality. I welcome you, participants. I welcome the resource person of the FDP, Professor Suku Thomas Samuel, and who's an active member in our department, who's always there to show his enthusiasm to connect these kind of a program. I welcome you, sir. I welcome Professor Vision Philip, who is coordinating this 4 days FDP, and who's a kind of a right support for this particular program. I welcome you, sir. And I once again welcome all the participants. I hope have enriching experience in the next 4 days, and I once again thank all the participants for your interest to be part of this program. Thank you very much. I remain.
Thank you, sir. We welcome you all as well. Now I request Reverend Dr. Father Augustine George, Vice Principal, Kristu Jayanti College, for the presidential address.
Thank you, Vijin. I'm very much pleased to know the BBA department of Kristu Jayanti College is organizing series of online program, and today we have another session of data analysis using spreadsheet. I welcome all the participants on behalf of entire Kristu Jayanti fraternity for this program. There is tremendous interest and willingness from many faculty members and students and academicians to join and utilize this pandemic hit time for their professional and personal development. This is a testing time for all of us, but we have the courage and we have the energy to overcome the situation. So I do appreciate the participants for your thoughtfulness and your passion to learn. This is the second. This is second time I think BBA department is organizing the same program, because we got a very good feedback of the same program by the BBA by the same professor. So since there is a request from the many people, I think we are organizing this for the people. I hope this program will benefit you a lot. Advanced level of Excel, that refers to the features and functions of Microsoft Excel, which helps the user to perform complex and large calculation, the data processing on the huge amount of data, performing data analysis, and we can represent the data in a better way. So that helps the people, to take the decision. I can say that it will increase your productivity and performance. The more you know about it, the more I think you can make your work easy. So I think the program that everybody has to know, I think little bit of the Excel, I think that we know the basic. If you know more and more about it, I think that is going to benefit. Your value proposition will be high. So I'm so happy that Suku sir is become a resource people for the second time. I think he is very young, very talented. More than that, he has got a good command in this area, and he is ready to utilize his time and energy for it. So on behalf of the participants and the college, I thank the Sugu sir for being an the resource person for this program. So all the best, sir. Continue your service. I like to see that many more going to be benefited by this program. Thanks to the department, Reddy sir, for being a good leader and that motivated to the entire department. And today we had Vijay Philip to coordinate the program and other faculty members as well. I thank all of them for their great support and great committed work as well. So wishing all of you all the best. I remain. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Father.
Vijay sir.
Yes, thank you, Father. Respected Father, Dean, HOD, faculty members, and dear participants, it's my immense pleasure to thank everyone who worked hard for organizing this online faculty development program on advanced data analysis using Spreadsheet. First of all, I would like to thank our principal, Father Josukuti PD, for the entire support and guidance for organizing this online faculty development program. Thank you, Father. I would like to thank Reverend Dr. Father Agustin George, Vice Principal, Kristu Jayanti College, who graced us with his presence and guidance. Thank you, Father, for sharing with us your words of wisdom. We have been fortunate to be assisted by our Dean, Commerce and Management, Dr. Aloysius Edward, for his constant support and encouragement in the absence of sir. Thank you. I would like to thank the man behind organizing this program and lead from the back, Professor Surendranath Reddy, Head Department of Management, Kristu Jayanti College. Thank you, sir. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to our resource person, Professor Suku Thomas, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Kristu Jayanti College. Thank you, sir. Special thank to organizing team, faculty members, and tech team for their constant support and encouragement. This program never success without the present and the support of the participants. I thank all the participants from the various parts of the country for your support and interest towards this online faculty development program. Thank you, dear participants. Once again, welcome. Once again, thank you, everyone. I remain. So now I request Professor Sugu Thomas to take over the session.
Thank you, Vijay sir. On the onset of today's online FDP on advanced data analysis using Spreadsheet, on behalf of the Department of Management, once again, we would like to welcome all the participants. Thank you for accepting our invitation and expressing your willingness to be a part of this learning session. So before we start, we would like to share some general guidelines regarding the FDP. The FDP will be across 4 days, and the timings would remain the same. It will be 3 p.m. in the afternoon till 4 p.m. And every day, since we are having a practical oriented FDP, we would be sharing the data sets based on the tools that we are covering. The data sets will be shared with all the participants through email latest by 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, so what we request all the participants to do is please load the data sets onto your systems, and such that as and when we are progressing through the session, you could have a hands-on experience and you could make most out of the sessions that we are having today. Also, like we had mentioned in our participants instruction email, the software that we would be using for our practical sessions is Microsoft Excel. And we are also keeping in consideration of the versions, the many different versions which are available in the market. And depending upon the versions which are installed on your systems, we would be planning out the tools. And another very important thing that we would like to share with all the participants is that we would be assigning a unique registration number to all of you. The registration numbers would be shared with you in an email by tomorrow. we request you to keep the registration numbers handy. This registration numbers would be unique for each of you. We request you to keep the registration numbers handy because in future, in case of any correspondences with the organizing team, you could quote your registration number, and this will help us to identify you easily. Another very important thing that we would like to express at this point of time is that we've noticed that some of you have not shared your details adequately at the time of registration. So it may be a little inconvenient at this point of time to go ahead and use that data for generation of your certificates at the end of the program. So at the end of the program, we would be circulating a feedback form and where we would be requesting you for the details once again. We request you to kindly cooperate because what we've noticed that some of you have misspelled your names, you have added your designations along with your first name, last name, etc. So to overcome these kind of situations, we would be collecting the information once again from you at the end of the program. That is on the 4th day. We will be circulating a feedback form with all of you. So you would have to mention the appropriate details in that feedback form so that we could go ahead and generate the e-certificates. And another very important thing that we would like to share with all of you is that our sessions are being recorded, and the sessions would be later being uploaded on the internet, and the links would be shared with you. The handouts of the sessions also that we would be sharing with you, so that you could make most of out of our FDP session. So with that note, let's go ahead. Since we are dealing with this today, we are dealing with the advanced version of data analysis, and since we have already the tools that we are planning as a part of this session would be the advanced versions. So let me just quickly bring up my screen here for you so that it would be visible to all of you. Okay, so just to let you know, we would be covering the advanced techniques, advanced tools in data analysis, and since like Father had mentioned, we had already conducted a similar program where we had covered the basics and the intermediate level, but because we've got a very good response back from our participants, we've decided to go ahead and offer the advanced version also. Sometimes what happens is some of the topics that we will be covering as a part of our program, we may have to bring in some basic concepts so that everyone is on a common page. So with that note, let us start. Before we get on with our tools, before we get on to our primary agenda, let's quickly have an understanding about what is meant by a spreadsheet. Spreadsheet is a software which specializes, which helps in structuring or which helps in organizing data in a tabular form. There are many different versions of spreadsheet software which available. Some of these spreadsheet softwares are licensed. Some of these spreadsheet softwares are open source. Some of these spreadsheet softwares you could use for advanced research activities also. Especially some of us who are in academics, we may be familiar with softwares like SPSS, eViews, Gretel, etc. So these are some spreadsheet softwares that we would be utilizing to carry out advanced functionalities. But spreadsheet, in a nutshell, it refers to an application, it refers to software which helps us to carry out data analysis. It helps us to store data in a tabular form. The reason why we are focusing on MS Excel, Microsoft Excel, is because Microsoft Excel enjoys a very good commercial success. One of the best things about Microsoft Excel is that it is a UI, it's a user interface based model. So unlike some of these advanced softwares that we use like R or some of those softwares, it is a UI based software where we don't have to use really command lines. We can, with the clicks of buttons, we could go ahead and we could get our activities or functionalities carried out. Another good thing about Microsoft Excel is that since it is all owned by Microsoft, the software enjoys periodic or regular updates, as a result of which the functionality of the software keeps improving day by day. Also, of lately, we have smartphone versions available for this. If you access your Play Store, or if you access your App Store through your smartphones, you would find that the smartphone versions of these softwares are also available for phones. And in keeping up with the recent trend, Microsoft has gone ahead and they have integrated the entire software package with cloud. So you really don't have to physically carry your data around. You could upload your data onto cloud, and then you could access your software, be it at home, be it at your office, or be it on your phone. So that is one good thing about Microsoft Excel. So since Microsoft Excel has got a very good commercial success, that's the reason why for our session also we are focusing on, we decided to go ahead and offer this FTP focusing on Microsoft Excel. Now, before we get on with our practical sessions, there is something very important that we have to understand as to how exactly does Excel go about storing, or how does Excel go about handling data. Now, the building blocks of Excel is what is called as cells. Okay? In Excel, your data will get stored into the smallest unit, or the smaller blocks, or the smallest unit, which is called as cells. So many cells would come together, and these many cells will form what is called as a sheet. Okay? Many cells will come together, and these many cells will together form what is called as a sheet. Many sheets will come together, and different sheets will come together, and it will form what is called as a workbook. Okay, so you can have 10 sheets. As of now, one workbook of Microsoft Excel can handle 256 Excel sheets. So you can add so many sheets onto your workbook. Now, the moment we try and save a workbook, what Excel does in the background is the workbook gets saved as a file. Okay, the workbook gets saved as a file. So this organization of data is very important, because sometimes when we have to handle complex data, we have to understand how exactly Excel goes about structuring the data. So we have cells. Many cells will combine together to form sheets. Sheets will combine together to form a workbook. The moment you save a workbook, it gets saved as a file. It gets saved as a file. Now, let me just quickly open up Microsoft Excel here, and just to give you a brief understanding about what I have just explained for you. Let me just quickly bring that up on the sheet. So here, what you see over here, what my cursor is standing at, these are referred to as cells. Okay, these are referred to as cells. So these many cells will come together to form what is called as a sheet. Okay, so now what you're seeing here on my screen at this point of time, I'm on a sheet which is called a space special. And if you would notice, this is actually the data set that I have shared with the participants. These are the tools that we are hoping to cover as a part of today. So if you notice, I have around 10 different sheets that I've put together. Now, these sheets have, so for example, page special 2, page special 3, page. So these are the different sheets that I have added. Now, all these sheets come together to form my workbook. Okay, all these sheets come together to form my workbook. So the name of my workbook is FTP Datasets Day 1. Okay, so this is the name of my workbook. So the moment I try and save this workbook, what is happening in the background is Excel is saving all this information. That is the information that I put in cells, all the information that I put into different sheets, all the sheets together, which forms up the workbook. So that is what is getting saved as a file. Okay? That is what is getting saved as a file. Now, there's also another very important concept that we have to understand. That is the concept of how exactly data gets stored into a cell. Now, whenever data gets stored into a cell of Microsoft Excel, it has got two parts. It has got something called as value, and it has got something called as a format. So there are two important components the moment we try and store some data onto Microsoft Excel cell. So it has got two parts. One part is your cell, and the other one part is your value, and the other part is your format. So it's something like this. When let's talk about a piece of information like 50 kg. So there are two parts to the data. 50 is the value, kg is the attribute. Okay, so 50 is a value, kg is the attribute. So 50 is an arbitrary number. Okay, it is an arbitrary number, but if I write 50 as such, it may not make any sense. Okay? But the moment I write an attribute, which is kg right next to 50, now that entire piece of information or that entire piece of data or that fact is making a lot of sense. So we come to know that we are referring to some weight. Okay? We come to know, we understand that we are referring to something which is a weight. Okay, so 10 kg, so 50 kg, 50 is the value, kg is the attribute. So kg, the attribute, helps in describing the value. Likewise, in Excel, cells, the moment you store data onto a cell, it has got two parts. There is value and then there is format. Value by itself could be characters, it could be numbers, it could be letters, it could be alphabets, but it may not have a sense by itself. But the moment you add some formatting, you give it a font, you give it a font size, you give it a color, you give it a background color, you give it a border. Now that cell value is having a format which is attached to it. So let me give you a demo of what I've just explained. Now, if you notice on my screen, all this that I have typed here, okay, which is FDP on data analysis. So I have got 6 cells which conveys the same data, or which conveys the same value. So the value that I've mentioned in all these 6 cells is the same, FDP on data analysis. But if you notice, in each cell, the formatting is different. Okay? So here the font color is red. Here the font color is dark blue with a navy blue backdrop. Here what I've done is I have given italics, I have underlined, and I have added bold. So the data in all these cells, the value in all these cells is the same, but the formatting is different. Okay? So whenever you store data onto a cell, there are two important parts it has. It has got a value and it has got a format. Okay? It has got a value and then it has got a format. Okay, so this is very important for us to understand. Okay, so whenever we store anything onto Microsoft Excel, you have to remember there are two parts. We have value and then we have format. Okay, now in Excel, we have a wonderful functionality which is called as paste special. Okay, so in Excel, we've got a wonderful functionality which is called as paste special. Now, typically, whenever we end up using Control C and Control V in any application, what happens is the application ends up copying the entire data and it ends up pasting the entire data. Okay? So value, in such cases, what happens is both value and the format gets copied and pasted. So in those cases, what will happen is both value and the format gets applied together. Okay? So let's say if I were to go back to the Excel sheet and let me go back to my Excel sheet. Okay, and let's say if I copy this particular cell, okay, which is A5, I bring it here and I do, so I've done Control C here, or let's say I copy, I come here and I do Control V. Okay, I do Control V. Now what is happening over here is I have copied both my value and my format. So when I do Control C and Control V, what Excel is doing in the background is it is copying both my value and my format, and it has pasted both my value and my format. Okay? So any tool that you would use, let's say be it PowerPoint, or let's say Microsoft Word, or let's say Microsoft Access, or any software, as a matter of fact, if you do Control C and Control V, what the application does is application will copy both the value and the format, and it will end up pasting both the value and the format. Okay? But in Microsoft Excel, we have an option, we have a facility whereby which we could separate the value from the format, or we could separate the format and the value. Okay, we could separate both the value and the format. Now this is referred to as paste special. Okay, this is referred to as paste special. So paste special is a functionality that you would use in Microsoft Excel to separate value from format. Okay, if you want to separate the value from format, then you can use the functionality which is called as paste special. Okay, so I want all of you to turn over to the data sets, and please be at the first sheet. The name of the first sheet is paste special. Okay, please be on the sheet which is paste special. Okay, now let me give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. Now here, my first cell, which is A1. Okay, now at this point of time, I also want to remind you of something. In Microsoft Excel, every cell has got a unique cell address. Okay? Every cell in Microsoft has what is called as a cell address. Now the cell address you can identify by looking at the cell address box. Okay, so this is referred to as the address box. Okay, if you refer to this place over here, you will come to know which which cell address is your cursor at. In Excel, every cell address has got a common nomenclature, that is name of the column followed by name of the row. Okay, so columns are all named alphabetically. Okay, columns are all named alphabetically, and rows are all named numerically. So here, all the columns are named alphabetically and all the rows are named numerically. Okay, since we are dealing with the advanced version, that's the reason why we are not spending too much of time with the basics. We are moving on with the advanced tools directly. But if there's anyone who's not understood the concept of cell address, just to make sure that you're not lost, that's the reason why I would like to specify this. So please remember, every cell in Microsoft Excel has got a cell address. The nomenclature of cell address is the column reference followed by the row reference. So my cursor at present is at D14, which means I'm at column D and I'm at row 14. Okay, so you will come to know by referring to the address column, the address box over here. Okay, now coming back, the moment I scroll over to this particular cell address, which is A2, the moment I spread across to the cell address, which is A2, you would notice that here I have mentioned FDP on data analysis. It is red in color, and the font size is red in color. Okay, so participants, please I request you to excuse me for 2 minutes. Let me just quickly try and change my headset. Apparently there's some issue with the audio, so I'm just going to try and change the headset to see if we can bring some change to that. So please excuse me for 2 minutes. Operation. I've just quickly changed my headset and I'm just going to check with the administrator here just to see if the reception is okay. Bijin sir, can you just quickly confirm, is the audio better?
Yes, sir. Fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there any static on the line now, sir? Is there any noise on the line now, sir?
Yes, sir. A little bit noise is there. It's the same noise. Whatever I told at the beginning.
Okay. Okay, sir. Yeah, let me just try and make some changes here and see. Okay, thank you, participants. Sorry for that. We just wanted to make sure that all of you are having a good experience as a part of this FDP. Okay, so thank you for bearing with us. Now, if you all turn your attention to what is on my screen right now, which is uh, my which is cell A2. If you notice, the cell, the data is the same. It is FDP on data analysis. However, here the formatting I have changed slightly. Okay. Now, corresponding right next to it, I have written the same set of data, which is Excel is amazing. Okay. So I want to apply this format as it is over here. Okay. I want to apply this format as it is over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Control C on my keyboard, scroll over here, right click. Okay. So scroll over here, right click, and then you would see here there's an option which says Paste Special. Okay. You would see an option which says Paste Special. Okay. So I'm going to click on this, and here by default, Excel will select the option All. Okay, so by default, Excel will select the option All. Now from All, I'm going to change this to Format. Okay, I'm going to change this to Format, and I'm going to say OK. Okay, I'm going to say OK. Now, if you notice, what Excel has done right now is Excel has retained the data, which is FDP on data analysis. Excel has copied the formatting which was here, and Excel has brought this formatting over here. Okay, so Excel has brought this formatting as it is over here. So I'll give you one more demonstration. So I'm going to go on to the next cell, which is A3, Control C, come to D3, right click, paste special, and I'm going to say from all, I'm going to change that to formats, and I'm going to say OK. Okay. So notice what Excel has done. Excel has retained the data as it is, and Excel has copied just the format. Okay. Excel has copied just the format. Okay. Now I want all of you to give. I'll pause here for maybe for a minute or two. I want all of you to give this a try with the next example, which is at A4. Okay. I want all of you to try the same exercise with the value with the formatting which is there in A4, and I want all of you to try and apply this format to D4. Okay, I want all of you to try and apply this format to D4. I shall pause here for a minute while you try the exercise. Okay, so I hope all of you have tried that by now, and you would have got, so what you should have done is Control C, come here, right click, paste special, click on format, and then say OK. Okay, so it's just the format that gets applied. Now we could do the same for just values. Okay, now if you would see here, what happens is I have the same set of data, which is FTP on data analysis, but I have different formats which have been applied. Now this is typically a problem that most of us face, especially when we use shared workbooks. Okay, so when we end up sharing workbooks with multiple people, everyone has got their own understanding about formatting, and they may end up applying their own formatting, and sometimes we may be interested only in the value. We may have to extract only the value from the cell. So in such cases, we will have a hard time changing the entire formatting and then aligning the entire thing. So in such cases, you could still go ahead and use paste special. So what you should do is, let's say I'm going to give you the demo with this data set where I have applied multiple formatting. Control C. Okay. Come to the place where you want to paste the data. Okay. Right click, paste special, and then select values. Okay. So previously we wanted only the formatting. So we were selecting format, but now we want only the value. So we're going to select value and we're going to say okay. Okay, and we're going to say okay. Now notice what Microsoft Excel has done. Excel has copied only the values. Okay, so all these places I had applied. So I had 6 different cells here. Into these 6 different cells, I had applied 6 different formatting. Now what Excel has done is Excel has removed all the multiple formattings and it has given me just the value that I needed, which is FTP on data analysis. So I'll just quickly give you a demonstration once again. Copy the data set that you want to copy, Control C, where you would like to paste the data, scroll over to there, right click, paste special, and then say values and then say okay. Okay, so what happens in such cases is Excel will end up applying only the values. Okay, Excel ends up applying only the values. Okay. Now, for the next set of demonstration, I want all of you to scroll over to the next sheet, okay, which is paste special 2. Okay, I want all of you to scroll over to the next sheet, which is paste special 2. Now, this is typically a situation that I was referring to when we end up sharing a workbook with multiple people. So what happens is everyone ends up applying their own unique formatting. So here, these were marks of some students that I ended up sharing. And if you notice, there are different formattings in different places. Now, if I were to change everything over to a common formatting, it will be too much of a manual work. Okay, it will be too much of a manual work. So what I could do is select the entire data set like this. Okay, select the entire data set like this. Control C on your keyboard. Right click on your mouse. Paste special and then say value and then say okay. So now notice what Excel has done. Excel has copied only the formatting for me. Okay, Excel has copied only the formatting for me. Okay, Excel has copied only the formatting for me. Okay. Now, there is one more functionality for which we can use space special for, which is called as transpose. Okay, there's one more functionality for which we could use Microsoft Excel space special for, and which is transpose. Now, what is meant by transpose? Transpose is when you want to convert your columns to rows and rows to columns. Okay, so when you want to convert your rows to columns and columns to rows, that is what we refer to as a transpose. So let's say if I want to transpose the students' data, so what typically people will end up doing is they will end up manually typing it all over. But this could be too tedious. Okay. Now in this case, the data that we are dealing with is relatively very small. So maybe manually typing it out could work out. Okay. But sometimes if the data set is really big, it may prove to be very difficult. So in such cases, what you could do is copy your data. Okay, that's just Control C. Scroll over to the place where you want to go. Right click, paste special. Okay, paste special. Select values before you say OK. Okay, and then just put a check mark on transpose. Okay, put a check mark over here that says transpose and then say OK. Okay, so I'll repeat the steps once again for you. Copy the data set. Control C. Okay. Scroll over to the place where you want to paste your data. Right click, paste special, values, select transpose, and then say OK. Okay. So now what Excel has done is Excel has converted my columns to rows and rows to columns. Okay, Excel has converted my columns to rows and rows to columns. Okay, so you could end up transposing your data in this manner. Okay, you need not sit and type out your entire data. You could sit and you could transport without much difficulty. I'll give you a minute or two while you practice that. Just for the understanding of all the participants, this is typically how we would be journeying through our FDP for the next 4 days, where I will be giving you a demonstration and and I would be pausing maybe for a minute or two where you could practice out what we have seen. So the idea is like, unlike the other FDPs in this manner, I believe that you would be able to retain the takeaways of the session better. Okay, so that's the reason why we are going in this manner. Else what will happen is at the end of 4 days, we would have covered a number of tools, but sometimes we may end up forgetting most of those tools. So just to make sure that you are familiar with the options, that's the reason why we are going in this option in this manner. So I want all of you, I will pause here for a minute or two. I want all of you to try the transpose exercise, and then we will move on to the next sheet. Okay, so I hope all of you had a hands-on experience trying to do that. Now let's move on to the next exercise. Now in the next exercise, if now I have tables and the tables are similar. Okay, I have couple of tables here. I have tables which are similar. Okay, now notice over here. I have the internal marks of some students. I have the semester marks of these students, and I want the total marks to be mentioned over here together. Okay, I want the total marks of these students to be mentioned here together. So there are multiple ways that we could go end up doing this activity. One way is we could use a formula where we say add up internal mark and the semester mark and write that together over here. Okay, so this is one way of doing it. Another way is we could total up manually and then write the answers over here. However, we could carry out this functionality using paste special with ease. Okay, we could carry out the same exercise. We could carry out the same activity using paste special. So how do we do this? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to copy this set of marks for the student Raju. I'm going to come here and I'm going to paste this. Okay, I'm going to come here, I'm going to paste this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the student's semester marks. Okay, the same student Raju's, I'm going to copy his semester marks. Okay, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come here, right click, paste special. Okay, paste special. I'm going to select values, and right below there is an option which says operation. Okay, now there's an option that says operation. Now since I am interested in adding up these values together, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be selecting on the option that says add. Okay, I'm going to be selecting on the option that says add, and I'm going to say okay. Okay, I'm going to say okay. Now if you'd notice, what Excel just did was Excel added up the value which was already there with the new value that I was trying to paste, and together it has given me the value here. Okay, I'll give you a demonstration of the same exercise once again. So let's look at this. Let's say I want Ramu's total marks to be mentioned over here. So I'm going to use Control C. I'm going to use Control V over here. Now I'm going to copy his semester marks. Okay. Now the moment I want the total marks to be reflecting over here, my intention is that it should add internal and it should add semester, and together it should give me the result over here. Okay. Now there are multiple ways by which we could do this, but we can go ahead and carry out the same activity, the same functionality using paste special. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click, paste special, value, and then I'm going to say add, and then I'm going to say okay. Okay, I'm going to Control C, paste special, select values, say add, and then say okay. And then notice what is happening. What Excel has done is Excel has added this with this, and together it has given me the value over here. Okay, it has given me the value over here. Okay, Okay. Now you could carry out the same functionality. You could use paste special option for addition, multiplication, division, and subtraction. Okay. You could go ahead and carry out the same operation using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division also. Okay, you could carry out the same activity using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Okay, so I want all of you to try this exercise in the case of Aman. Okay, so what you should do is copy Aman's internal marks, come here, okay, paste it, okay, then come to Aman's semester marks, copy this, okay, Control C, come here, paste special, okay, values, and then say addition, and then say okay. Okay, so what Excel will do is Excel will add up these two together and then will reflect the values over here. Okay, now as an exercise, please try for John all by yourself. Okay, please try for John. I shall pause here for a minute or two. Please try the same exercise for John all by yourself. So participants, I hope all of you tried that, and I hope all of you got the results that we were intended. Bijal sir, just to make sure, is the audio? Is there any changes in the audio now?
No, sir. Fine. Proceed.
Okay. Is there a humming sound in the audio now?
It's fine, sir. Fine, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Now I request all the participants to scroll over to the next sheet. Okay. The next sheet is page special 4. Okay, I want all of you to scroll over to the next sheet, which is page special 4. Okay. Now here, if you notice, I have some data sets, and these are two different data sets. Now in one, I have some information which is incomplete. In the second, I have some information which is incomplete. Now, what if I want to merge these two data sets together? Okay, what if I want to merge these two data sets together? The obvious way of doing this is manually entering all these data like this. Okay? The obvious way of carrying this out is using manually entering the data sets. But sometimes if the data sets is really big, if it's really huge, then what happens is it may be too tedious. Okay? It may be too tedious. That may not be practically possible. So in such cases, we could still explore and use a functionality within paste special. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy the data set. Okay? I'm going to Control C here, come here, right click, paste special, values,
and I'm going to check this option that says skip blank. Okay, I'm going to select this option that says skip blank, and I'm going to say okay. Now notice what Excel has done. Excel has not touched these values at all. Okay? It has retained those values as it is. Now typically, if I were to do Control C and Control V, what would happen is the data which was here, the data which is in the middle, the data which should have been here, Excel will end up overwriting that also. Okay? Excel will end up overwriting that also. That's not what I desire. What I'm desiring is that I want Excel to combine this data and this data. Okay, I want Excel to combine this data and this data. So what I can go ahead and do the carry out this activity using page special. So Control C, come here. Okay, now let me just undo this. Okay, come here, Control C. Okay, come here, right click, page special, values, and then I'm going to say skip blank. Okay, I'm going to say skip blank, and I'm going to say okay. So what Excel does is, whichever cells that are left as blank, Excel will leave that untouched. Okay, Excel will leave that untouched. So let's look at another case in the case of Deekshit. So in Deekshit, I've noticed that this value and this value is missing. So what I will do is come here, copy this data, Control C, come here, right click, paste special, values, skip blank, and then say okay. And what I've done is I've merged this table and I've created a combined version of these two cells together. So I'll repeat that once again. Copy this, Control C, come here, right click, paste special, values, skip blanks, and then say okay. So Excel has merged my two data sets together. Excel has combined my two data sets together. Okay. Now I want all of you to try the same exercise in the case of Gloria's entries. Okay. I'll pause here maybe for a minute or two, and I want all of you to try the same exercise for Glory. Okay. I want all of you to try the same exercise for Glory. So I hope we've covered that topic. I hope all of you were able to carry out that exercise. Now I want all of you to scroll over to the next sheet. Next sheet by the name range. I want all of you to scroll over to the next sheet, which says named range. Now here I have some set of some names over here, and I have the names. I have the names of some students, and I have their marks, which I've mentioned over here. I have the names of some students, and I have their marks over here. Now, what if I frequently want to refer to these sets of data elsewhere in my my workbook or my Excel sheet? Okay. So in such cases, what I can do is I can assign a custom name to a range of data. I can assign a custom name to a range of data. Okay. So ranges, different types of ranges, references, all this we have, this is all part of the basics. So I will not be covering that right now. So I'll be quickly moving on to what is meant by named ranges. So you will have to go to formula. You will have to go to formula, and there's an option that says name manager. Okay, there's an option that says name manager. When you click on it, a new window will open up like this. Okay, a new window will open up like this. Okay. So here I have to click on new. Okay, I have to click on new. So let's say I'm going to give the name student1. Okay, student1, my student1 is Raju. Okay, now I have to define, when I talk about student1, which range am I referring to? So my range is B4 to F4. So I'm selecting this B4 to F4. Okay, so the moment I use the reference student1, Excel will understand that anywhere in my Excel workbook, the moment I use the term student1, I'm referring to Raju's marks starting from accounts till max. Okay, so let's say okay. Now let's see how exactly we can use this named range functionality. Okay, how exactly we can use this named range functionality. So let's say I want to get the sum of Raju's marks. Okay, I want the sum of Raju's marks. So what I will do is equal to sum open bracket. Okay, so this is the formula for sum. This is a part of this we have previously covered as a part of basics. We will not be discussing this right now. And now the range name that I've given was student1. Okay, student1. So if you notice, the moment I mentioned student1, Excel has understood that I'm referring to Raju's marks, and Excel has selected that range. So I'm going to just say okay. And notice Excel has given me the marks of Raju. Okay, so let's try and cross check this. So I'm going to select Raju's marks like this, and I'm going to come down to the status bar over here, and it shows me the sum is 111. Okay, now you could use named range for a variety of functions. So let's say I want average of Raju's marks. Okay, I want average of Raju's marks. The formula to calculate average is equal to average, and I'm going to call the range, which is student1, and I'm going to close, and I'm going to say okay. So what Excel has done now is Excel has understood that I'm interested in calculating the average of Raju's marks, and Raju's marks I have defined as a part of my named range student1. Okay, so like this, you could give any name to any range. Okay, so let's say name manager, and I say accounts. Okay, let's say, imagine I'm an accounts teacher, and at some point of time, I always need to refer to accounts marks, and I'm going to give this as accounts marks. This time, the range I'm going to define is B4 to B7. Okay, B4 to B7. So that's the range for my accounts marks. Okay, that's the range for my accounts marks, and I'm going to say okay. Okay, I'm going to say close. Now let's say I want to know the average of accounts marks in my subject, which is accounts. So I'm going to say average open bracket, and I'm going to say accounts marks, and I'm going to say okay. So it has given me the average. Okay, so what it is calculating average by taking the average of these 4 students. I have defined their marks here as a named range. So like this, you could give named range to any data sets in Excel. You could give name range to any data sets in Excel. So let's say Ramu's mark. So I'm going to say name range. I'm going to say new, and I'm going to give this name this time as Ramu. I'm going to give this time the name as Ramu. And Ramu's marks are in B5 to F5. Okay, I'm going to say close this. I'm going to say okay. Then we close this. And let's say here I want to calculate the total of Ramu's mark. I'm going to say sum, and I'm going to say Ramu, close the bracket, and then say okay. So here it is giving me the sum of Ramu's marks. Okay? Giving me the sum of Ramu's marks. So you could apply named range and named range functionality if there is a data series that you're frequently using in your Excel, and instead of selecting the complete data series, instead of selecting the complete coordinate, you could keep referring it to over and over again. Okay. So I want all of you to, I'm going to pause here for a minute or two. I want all of you to try this exercise for Aman and Aman's marks, and I want you to name the range as Aman. Okay. I want to use the name range Aman. I shall pause here for a minute or two. Please try this exercise. I have received a request from some participant. They've asked me to repeat this functionality once again. So named range option is what we will use when we want to call a data set, a data series. We are pretty sure that we will be using this data set series regularly. Okay, so instead of always selecting the data set like this, we can give it custom names. You can give it a name that you like. So for example, I'm going to frequently be using John's marks. Okay? So these 5 marks of John for these 5 subjects, I'm going to be using it frequently. So instead of each time selecting from B7 till F7, I can give it a custom name. So how would I do that? I have to come to Formula, Name Manager, click on New. Okay, click on New and give it a name. I'm going to name this as John, and you have to define the series. So in this case, the series that I'm interested is B7 to F7. Okay, I've selected B7 to F7. I'm say OK. I'm going to say OK here again. Okay, and then I'm going to say close. Okay. So anywhere in my sheet, if I say sum and say John, so Excel has understood that John is the name that I've given for this series, and it will automatically call that series and then add the marks to it. Okay. So let's say I'll be using English marks. Okay. I'll be frequently using English marks. So how will I define the series? I can define the series by selecting Name Manager, New, let's say English. So give that as ENG. You can give it any name that you desire, just that it does not support space or any special characters. Okay, now select define the dataset series. So this is what I want. Okay, and then I say okay. Okay, so all these are the ranges that I've defined so far. Okay, now this is the range that I've recently introduced, which is English marks. And say close. Let me come here and I say is equal to sum, open bracket, and I say ENG. So Excel has automatically understood that I'm referring to English marks. So it has selected this range and I'm saying okay. So you could use this for a variety of functions, or you could use this for, let's say, anything as a matter of fact. So let's say I want to calculate the average of my students' marks for English subject. So I just have to use is equal to average, call the range, and Excel will end up calculating that way. So you can use name range functionality when you're dealing with complex data sets. So this is when you're dealing with complex data sets. Okay, since we started off with our session a little late today, since we had the inauguration, I will be extending today's session maybe by another 5 minutes, and then we shall wrap up for today. Okay, so the next functionality that we would be learning is if. Okay, the next functionality that we will be learning is if. The reason why I'm starting from if is because I have to teach you usage of if with logical operators. But if you have to apply logical operators, you must know if formula. So for the benefit of those participants who don't know if formula, I will be taking the if formula here. So here, let's say I have the marks of some students. Okay, I have the marks of some students, and I want to know, or I want Excel to highlight and let me know, have they passed or have they failed? Okay, I want Excel to highlight here and tell me if these students have passed or if these students have failed. Okay, so the pass mark is, let's say, 40. Okay, so the pass mark is, let's say, 40. So in this case, I can use if functionality. How do I use if functionality? I say is equal to. Before I get on with this, I just want to quickly emphasize on one particular aspect. See, formulas are basically expressions which we use in Excel, which helps us to execute and give us output of a desired functionality. So there are different categories of formulas which are available in Excel: financial, data, time, statistical, etc. Okay. Now, of this, if formula is one of those formulas that we will be frequently using. Now, the primary functionality of if formula is that we can define a criteria. We can assign a criteria in Excel using if, and Excel will validate. Okay? So if the criteria is fulfilled, then it will give us one value. If the criteria is not fulfilled, then it will give us another value. Okay, so you can define if formula, and if formula, using if formula, you can define a criteria, and the moment you run this formula, it will cross check the criteria that you have defined, and if the criteria is fulfilled, it will give us one value. If the criteria is not fulfilled, it will give us another value. Whenever we talk about formulas, there's always what is called as a syntax. So syntax refers to a command line, and the syntax for if formula is if open bracket logical test, where you define the criteria, comma, then you would express your true value, and then you would express your false value. Okay, so I will explain this to you in a better way using a practical example. So let's go back to our Excel sheet. I want all of you to scroll over to the sheet that says if. Okay, I want all of you to scroll over to the sheet that says if, and in if, we have the set of we have the marks of some students, and the pass is 40, and we want the status, we want Excel to cross check their marks and let us know if they have passed or if they have failed. So we will define the formula right now. So we will start with is equal to if open bracket. Now we are defining the logical test. So our logical test is cross check this mark. Okay, cross check this mark. If this mark is greater than 40, if this mark is greater than 40, then it is a pass. So pass you will have to define in open inverted quotes. Okay, then close your quotes, comma. Now you have to define your false value. So what if the mark is not greater than 40? Then what should Excel do? Then Excel should tell you it's a fail. Okay, so this pass and fail, since we are asking it to give us back logical references, since we are asking Excel to give us back text values. Okay, text values always have to be defined in Excel using inverted quotes. Okay, you have to always define text values in formulas in inverted quotes. So open quote, pass, close quote, again comma. So here we have, so this much part we have defined what is the true value. Then after comma we are defining the false value. After comma we are defining the false value. Close the bracket and then press enter. Okay, so since this mark is more than 50, it is a pass. Okay, since this mark is more than 50, it is a pass. So let's go to Kushal's case. Okay, so Kushal is 30. So let's try and write the same formula. The formula is equal to if open brackets define your logical test. Your logical test here is B4. The value in B4 is it greater than 40. If it's greater than 40, now you have to define your true value. Your true value is inverted quotes, pass, close quotes, comma. Now you have to define your false value. Your false value is fail. Your false value is fail. So open quotes, fail, close quotes, and then close the bracket and then press enter. Okay. So now what Excel has done is Excel has checked this mark. Excel has tried figuring out, is this mark more than 40 or is it less than 40? In this case, it was less than 40. So Excel has gone ahead and given me, or it has gone ahead and carried out the false part of the formula, which was fail. Okay, which was fail. So I pause here maybe for a minute or two. I want all of you to quickly try this for Amit and Matthew. Okay, Amit and Matthew. I shall pause here for a minute. I want all of you to try this for Amit and Barry. Probably for Amit, we shall go in a mode where I will help you out. So here we start with is equal to if open bracket. So we are defining a logical test. A logical test is analyze values in B5. Is the value in B5 greater than 40, comma, okay, open quotes. Let's say what we want is it should be pass. If it's more than 40, it is a pass, so we defined that in quotes, comma. If it's less than 40, then what should it come back? We wanted to come back as a fail. So close quotes and close bracket and then press enter. So that is a pass. Okay. So I'll pause here for a minute or two. I want all of you to try the same exercise for Matthew. I want all of you to try the same exercise for Matthew. Okay, so I've got some responses from some fans. Some of the participants said that they were able to do it. I'm very happy to know that. In the meanwhile, there was a query from one of the participants. Can this be used for grade systems? Yes, we can. Actually, we will have we will have to cover. We will be having an option which is we have to write what is called as a nested if function. Okay, so nested if function I'll be covering as a part of tomorrow's session. So with that note, we will be winding up with today's session. Probably we shall have maybe 5 minutes of Q&A. If any participants have any with any questions or any queries, we will be happy to answer your queries. So just to answer to that previous participant's answer, yes, we can. We have to write what is called as a nested if, which we'll be covering as a part of tomorrow's session. And in the meanwhile, there was also a request saying that some of the topics that we are covering here, it is a repetition of a previous FDP. I totally agree. But the reason being that respecting the participation of respecting the understanding of everyone, there are certain topics we will have to start from the foundation. So, for example, if I have to teach space question, addition operation, or if I have to teach space question, skip blanks, I cannot jump into that concept directly. So, just to make sure that all the participants are on a common page, that's the reason why in certain cases we have to revisit the basics. But nonetheless, it would be beneficial. It would be mutually beneficial for all the participants because we are revisiting our understanding. It will only help us to strengthen our knowledge. Okay. In the meanwhile, there was a query: is there an option to drag and drop this down? Yes, we can drag and drop this down like this, and we will be able to. We will be able to carry this out. But the reason why I did not use drag and drop is because just to make sure that all the participants have have an understanding. That's the reason why we have done it like this. Okay. So if any participants have any queries, we will be happy to answer. And in the meanwhile, I've got a feedback saying that there is some disturbances. So let me just try and check the audio. Begin, sir. We just want to quickly check with you, sir. Is the audio better now?
Yes, sir. Now it is fine. Now it is fine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, sir. In the meanwhile, if any participants have any queries, you can raise your hands. Professor Bijin will help you in unmuting, and then you can ask the questions. If any participants have any queries, you can raise your hands. We'll be happy to unmute you. Since we are not receiving any responses, we shall close the session for today. Like for tomorrow as well, please remember we will be sharing the data sets with you, and the data sets shall be shared with you in email. We request you to check your email. Please load your emails onto your systems to make sure that we will be able to go together in terms of the session. And also, just in case if you have any queries, my email address is I shall pass on my email address here. Feel free to write it. And one very important update for all the participants, the sessions or the Zoom details for tomorrow's session, we shall be communicating to you in email as well as in the WhatsApp group. So you can check for the details for tomorrow's session on WhatsApp as well as in the email. So once again, thank you all participants. We wish you a wonderful evening. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Thank you. I think there's one participant who has a query. So I think we can find unmute. Mohan sir, if you can unmute the participant who has raised the hand. Sir, can you please unmute Roshan ma'am? She's raised her hand. Okay, Roshan ma'am, if you still have a query, you can mention in the chat box.